You'll be surprised to learn that the Shire isn't just green hills and round-door houses. You won't believe what goes on inside those houses. You can't even imagine how complex and fascinating hobbits really are. The hobbit families living in these peaceful lands formed a community woven with secrets that are often overlooked and a network of interconnected relationships. Now, let's explore the secrets of Middle-earth's most beloved and often underestimated inhabitants together, starting from the depths of a hobbit hole. As the first gentle rays of morning sunlight painted the hills golden, a thin silver mist lingered in the valleys, catching the light and scattering it across the streams and cobbled paths like tiny fragments of crystal. Dewdrops clung to the lush vegetables and bright flowers in the hobbits' meticulously tended gardens, and a faint, ethereal rainbow formed where the mist kissed the tiny, moss-covered streams. Birds began their morning songs, weaving melodies between the branches, while the wind whispered through the leaves, carrying hints of fresh earth, blooming flowers, and wood smoke from distant chimneys. The Shire awakened slowly, gracefully, in a rhythm that mirrored the quiet determination and calm curiosity of its inhabitants. Each hobbit hole tells its own story, with windows revealing glimpses of hearths lit by soft flames, kitchens bustling with the smell of freshly baked bread, and shelves lined with carefully arranged trinkets and treasured keepsakes. Life inside these homes may seem simple at first glance, but it is shaped by careful planning, neighborly bonds, and a subtle, understated ingenuity. In the gardens, small hands tend to plump vegetables. In the kitchens, recipes are perfected over generations. In the common rooms, laughter and gossip intertwine, quietly reinforcing the strength of the community. Beneath the calm, pastoral surface of the Shire lies courage in miniature. Hobbits may be small and unassuming, but their hearts are brave and their curiosity boundless. They explore the woods, the streams, and the hills with a sense of wonder, uncovering mysteries hidden in the quiet corners of their world. Even in their most ordinary moments gathering hay, sharing a pint at the Green Dragon, or strolling along a sunlit path, they demonstrate a subtle heroism that outsiders rarely notice. Life here is a delicate balance of simplicity and depth, of laughter and resilience, and of secrets quietly kept yet occasionally revealed. In every smile, in every carefully tended garden, in every chimney curl of smoke, the Shire hums with a magic that is both gentle and enduring. It is a place of calm, yes, but also of subtle adventure, a world that teaches that the smallest among us often carry the greatest stories, and that peace is never simple, but always earned and cherished. Bilbo Baggins looked out of his round window and took a deep breath of the scent of the damp earth and new shoots among the flowers in his garden. Even though he saw the same view every morning, his curiosity rose like a slowly swelling river, awakening the adventurous spirit that lay beneath his calm exterior. Today should be another ordinary day. Adventure won't knock on my door, will it? He muttered. But deep within his soul, a quiet call echoed faintly behind this quiet life. Hidden within every seemingly ordinary hobbit is the courage to change the world. Just then, a faint knock was heard. Someone was at the door. Bilbo, overcome with a slight feeling of excitement and fear, moved towards the door. When he opened it, Gandalf stood before him, dressed in his long gray robe and carrying his staff. His eyes reflected deep wisdom and experience, as if he knew all the secrets of Middle-earth. "Hello, Bilbo," said Gandalf, his voice slow but sharp. "Are you ready for a journey that will completely change the course of your life?" Bilbo's heart suddenly began to beat faster. "I just want a peaceful life," he thought, but his curiosity was strong enough to overcome his fear. He slowly closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and for a moment imagined the peaceful hills of the Shire and his own little home. But in that moment, he realized that the desire for adventure was quietly at the very center of his soul, and ignoring this call was now impossible. The hills and valleys of the Shire appeared from the outside to be nothing more than a peaceful tableau. However, the small gardens of the houses, the fields, and the relationships between neighbors were all part of an invisible, complex system. The hobbits had established an enchanting balance with their simple lives, carefully preserving their small communities and keeping their values alive through daily rituals. A shared smile at a festival, a small act of kindness during lunch. These were the threads that held the intricate web together. Bilbo had crossed the borders of the Shire for the first time. He walked slowly amid the rustling of the grass and the shadows of the leaves dancing in the wind. With every step, both excitement and fear grew in his heart. This silence sharpened his courage and curiosity, making the steps he was about to take into the unknown more meaningful. As he made his way through the forest, Bilbo carefully observed every detail around him. The rough bark of the trees, the whispering of the branches in the wind, the melodic calls of the birds, and the faint scent of earth rising from the ground. All these small details had become his inner guide. The patience and attentiveness he had learned in the Shire were now becoming the cornerstones of a great adventure. With every step, he felt the great potential carried within his small body, believing that even a hobbit could make a difference. Sitting by the campfire at night, storms raged within Bilbo's inner world. The sparks from the fire danced on the walls. The howling wind and the distant sounds of animals increased both his fear and his curiosity. How much more dangerous will this journey be? He wondered. The courage growing inside him mingled with fear and drew him toward the unknown. The scent of earth, leaves, and wind gave Bilbo confidence, bringing him into harmony with nature. With every step, he understood that even a small hobbit could create great results. Did you know that the quiet determination of hobbits could sometimes change the fate of all Middle-earth? Over time, the path turned into a dark road covered with dense trees. Only a small patch of sky was visible through the branches. The rustling of leaves and the howling of the wind created the forest's silent melody. As Bilbo walked slowly, his determination and fear mingled within him. The small lessons and courage he had learned in the Shire had now become a real test. During the first days of the journey, a noticeable change occurred within Bilbo's inner world. Fear, curiosity, and courage intertwined, revealing how a small hobbit was slowly transforming into a quiet hero. Bilbo now understood that he was no ordinary hobbit. He knew that small steps, a patient heart, and quiet courage made great adventures possible. The depths of the forest had been cloaked in a mysterious and almost untouchable silence with the night. Moonlight filtered through the dense trees, thinly, covering the ground like a silver carpet. The wind blew so gently, it was almost imperceptible. The rustling of the leaves resembled a faint melody over the shadows. As Bilbo moved forward with trembling steps, fear and curiosity mingled within him. His heart beat with both excitement and anxiety. Just then, the dark bushes at the edge of the path stirred slightly. Bilbo's eyes widened in fear. He gripped his staff more tightly. His eyes met two small pairs of eyes shining in the darkness. He took a quiet breath and tried to prepare himself. "Who goes there?" he whispered in a trembling voice. There was no answer, only the faint rustling of leaves and the howling of the wind. Bilbo tried to separate the fear and curiosity within him, beginning to discover his own strength in the darkness. As he ventured further, a massive shadow loomed in the depths of the forest. Bilbo's heart nearly stopped. The gleaming eyes and the sheer size of the body reminded him of Smaug's shadow. In the darkness of the night, every step was a test, every breath a show of courage. But Bilbo remembered the patience he had learned in the Shire. His attention to small details had now become a shield that would keep him alive. "I can do this. I can endure," he whispered to himself. When he took his first step, everything in his world seemed to pause for a moment. The rustling of leaves, the howling of the wind, and the calls of night birds in the distance seemed to be deliberately making noise to remind him he was not alone. Bilbo's inner strength merged with the danger in the outside world, transforming his small body into that of a great hero. The shadows in the forest began to stir. Bilbo listened intently to the rough bark of the trees around him, the dewdrops on the tips of the branches, and the hooting of owls in the distance. Every detail had become a guide, a clue. In the first moments after escaping the dragon, Bilbo faced not only a physical test, but also an inner transformation. Fear, courage, and curiosity intertwined, pushing the limits of even a small hobbit's potential. A sudden realization dawned on Bilbo. Courage lay not only in strength, but in determination, intelligence, and patience. Every conscious step was precious enough to change the fate of all Middle-earth. As the night progressed, Bilbo's courage grew more pronounced. Amidst the silence of the forest, he could hear his own breath, his heartbeat, and the tapping of his staff on the ground. The fear within him was no longer just a test, but had also become a source of energy. The small lessons in courage he had learned in the Shire were now shaping his life and the world around him. Over time, the journey had become increasingly difficult. Branching paths, muddy riverbeds, and rocky terrain tested Bilbo's patience and endurance. But with every step, he moved forward by listening to his inner guide and acting in harmony with nature. Finally, Bilbo emerged into an open area. The first rays of the sun illuminated the deep shadows of the forest and painted the green meadows on the hills golden. He took a deep breath. The fear and curiosity in his heart gave way to pride and satisfaction. Bilbo was no longer an ordinary hobbit. With his inner strength and quiet courage, he had become one of Middle-earth's unseen heroes. On his way back to the Shire, Bilbo remembered the power of nature, community bonds, and small details with every step. The gentle breeze, the damp scent of the earth, and the chirping of birds reminded him of the warmth of home. They showed him that even small but effective steps could change the world. The story of the Hobbits was not just about courage and adventure. It also taught the values of patience, friendship, curiosity, and living in harmony with nature. Small bodies, big spirits, and strong values. This combination made the Hobbits the unforgettable people of Middle-earth. Every adventure, every choice, and every small action offered a quiet example of heroism. The peaceful hills and valleys of the Shire held a world filled with small but impactful steps. On his way back to the Shire, Bilbo moved in harmony with the silence of the nature around him, taking slow steps. The gentle forest breeze carried the damp scent of the earth, while birds accompanied him with melodic chirps from afar. With every step, he felt once again that even a small hobbit could make a big difference. Within him, both a sense of fulfillment and a new curiosity were beginning to take root. The patience he had learned in the Shire, his attention to small details, and his quiet courage were now valuable not only for his own journey, but for all events in Middle-earth. The invisible heroism of the hobbits lay hidden in the small choices of ordinary life. Sometimes a glance, a smile, or a bold step held the power to change an entire world. And here lies an important point. This story doesn't end with Bilbo's adventure. The peaceful hills and rolling valleys of the Shire are still alive with countless new stories, hidden courage, and secrets waiting to be discovered. Every hobbit, in their own small and humble way, writes their own form of heroism. Sometimes it is silent, almost unnoticed by others. Sometimes it is quiet yet deliberate, shaping the lives around them in subtle yet meaningful ways. Each small step, each thoughtful decision, contributes to a larger journey, one that, though seemingly simple, carries a profound impact. Perhaps you too, in your daily life, carry the power to quietly influence the world with a small step of courage. True heroism isn't always found in grand gestures. Sometimes it lies in quiet, deliberate, and determined choices. The story of the Hobbits reminds us that greatness often hides within ordinary moments, silent steps, small decisions, unseen courage. This is the true strength of the small but profound souls living in the Shire. In fact, this story doesn't end with Bilbo's adventure. The peaceful hills and valleys of the Shire are still alive with countless new stories, hidden bravery, and secrets waiting to be discovered. Every hobbit writes their own humble heroism, sometimes silent, sometimes unnoticed, but always impactful. Each small step, each conscious choice, is part of a journey that, though seemingly simple, carries profound meaning. And now, beyond the calm hills of the Shire, new stories still await discovery. Who knows which small step, which quiet act of courage will spark the next legend? These lands are always full of surprises, and the moment a new story begins is never certain. Silent and humble steps, small choices, unseen courage. This is where the real power of the Shire and its hobbits lies. And with each new day, that power emerges again, quietly yet profoundly shaping the world. Bilbo's small steps were only the beginning. His journey, though it started with hesitation at his round green door, lit the path for greater tales yet to come. Frodo's quest, the Fellowship's bond, and the destiny of Middle-earth itself, all of it was made possible by the quiet courage of one hobbit who chose to take a single step forward. In this way, Bilbo's story is not merely his own, but the seed from which legends grew. And so, from the misty mornings of the Shire to the darkest corners of Middle-earth, the echo of those small steps continues to remind us. Even the gentlest heart can alter the fate of all. Because in the end, as Tolkien himself reminds us, sometimes even the smallest person can change the course of the future. And perhaps, somewhere beyond the rolling hills and quiet rivers, another story is waiting to be told, a story born, once again, from the smallest of steps. See you in the next legend.